Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday RPG. In this case, I am running a homebrew Numenera adventure called The Fourth Emperor. This show, like all of the work of Sly Flourish, is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. If you want to help support shows like this, you can do so by becoming a patron. Patrons get access to all kinds of exclusive material, exclusive adventures. They get the access to the City of Arches, a city source book, and previews of upcoming events, previews of videos, all kinds of interesting things. A Patreon, monthly Patreon Q&A, all kinds of cool stuff. It's worth being a patron. Patrons of Sly Flourish get a lot of access to a lot of stuff. So, but most of all, they help me put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your support. My group has been in the Vault of Tacron. So in this campaign, the characters are trying to stop the second coming of the Fourth Emperor. The Fourth Emperor is a very powerful outer world entity that wants to take over literally all life on the planet, and had done so in the Fourth Age, nearly 500 million years ago. So this entity was apparently pushed out, but is trying to come back, right? So the characters are in the process of trying to understand what it is and how it operates and how to stop it and all this other stuff. And one of the things they've done, they have a friend who had been brainwashed by a bunch of nanites that turned her into what an entity known as a Walker of Beyond. A Walker of Beyond is essentially, this is all in the Numenera, I'm going to be using a bunch of Numenera lingo, a nano, like kind of a wizard, that supports the Fourth Emperor. She's been brainwashed essentially into becoming a wizard of the Fourth Emperor, nano of the Fourth Emperor. And they want to save her. So they realized that they couldn't save her without getting access to some stuff. And what they needed was in this place called the Vault of Tacron. It turns out Tacron was this historian and researcher and nano himself who has become what is known as an excogate, which is essentially like a Numenera lich, right? Or demi-lich almost. And he manipulates nanites. He's one of the few beings able to manipulate nanites, and specifically has figured out how to reverse engineer the brainwashing nanites that are inside their friend Kimley. So the characters went into Tacron's, the Vault of Tacron. They avoided some nasty things that were there. They then met Tacron and had a long conversation with Tacron, who explained could do and what it wanted. And what it could do was it can provide nanos that can save their friend Kimley. What it wants in return is access to the Fourth Emperor's data sphere. It wants to be able to reside. It wants to be able to float out and into new worlds. It's been building recursive worlds that it's been enjoying, but like Minecraft, right? It's been playing Minecraft for, 800 years. And it wants to have a new place to go play. So, and it says, I would love to have access to the Fourth Emperor's data sphere because I will learn like 1 million years worth of information. So give me access to the Fourth Emperor's data sphere. I will give you my help in return. A sinister entity, right? A kind of a dark and sinister entity. So it said, the Tacron, the excogate, said that, unfortunately, I have a servant who is here in this tomb that is not going to be happy with you wandering around. You're going to have to defeat it to get where you need to get. And I don't have any control over it anymore. It's been hundreds of years since I had control over it. I will show you Tacron, the excogate. There's Tacron. He's a friendly looking sort, right? Like I would totally follow that thing. Tacron also revealed some other information. It revealed the hex. So in the big question of like what the Fourth Emperor fell before, right? How did it fall before? Well, it fell because another very powerful group that is much more built on chaos wiped it out, known as the Hex, which was probably built by the Fourth Emperor. This might be a secret. We should generate some stuff. We are going to create new session notes. Today is 3 April 22, Sunday, Numenera. I'm going to drop right into secrets. One of the secrets is that the Fourth Emperor, the Fourth Empire, created the Hex, but the Hex as a more efficient way of controlling sentience. It was essentially the mind, what do they call mind breakers? The mind manipulation nanos. But it could spread. That turned out to be a mistake. So that's a good secret. Another secret is that the hex, what little remains of the hex is held in an archive, a millennia, an aeon old archive called, I don't know what do we call that? I have to come up with a name. We could drop into locations and see if there's an interesting location. The Tomb of the Sixth Archivist. That's good. We'll do that. Right? So in the Sixth Age, an archivist managed to capture what remained of the remaining hex, and it is there in the vault. So like it is a failsafe, right? Could be a failsafe against the Fourth Emperor. The hex is the only thing the Fourth Emperor fears. So we've got some secrets. Let me move my windows around here. Oh, Malicious, thank you so much. Malicious said, this is my second month being a patron. It has been a massive wealth of info for me, and I couldn't be happier of my investment. That is awesome. Am I enjoying Numenera now as much as I did at the beginning? Yes, I am enjoying Numenera a lot. That said, I do want to start thinking about the end. I do think, like, I'm enjoying it, and I actually want to have a talk with my players today and ask how they're enjoying it mechanically, right? Like, do they like how their characters are progressing? They've now hit tier 2. They're regularly getting, I forget what they call them, they're not level bumps, but they're bumping abilities and stuff like that. They're regularly getting those. My question is, like, how are they enjoying the mechanics of the game compared to like the mechanics of 5e? But I do think I want to start thinking about how I'm going to wrap this up. Even if I don't wrap it up real soon, I want to have an idea about where the end of this thing is going to go. And I have some thoughts about that we're going to talk about. So I think my strong start, they're in the tomb. They're talking to Tacron the Excagate. And I want to have something good, fun happen. You can always throw like a monster at it. So you could have like an eye of the disassembler comes into the chamber. The characters must react. So I think there's this entity called the disassembler, right? That's out there. Did I have the disassembler in the previous game? The dissector. We're gonna grab these monsters, right? The dissector. So the characters have to deal with the fact that an eye of the dissector, which could be, what's a Phelbis? Let's take a look. Numenera Bestiary 3. Writes and other crafters in Numenera find Phelbis to be very useful, but also destructive and frustrating. Crab-like creatures have about the same mass as a human, but most of it is centered in a tank-like part of its body surrounded by spindly legs. Sharp limbs that function as a saw and intake device. Phelbis consume meat, scraps of synth, and lesser forms of item. So I think maybe these are level 4s. So maybe 2 of these things. 2 level 4 Phelbises. 2 level 4 Phelbises enter Tacron's chamber. They are an extension of the dissector and must be destroyed. Start with a fight. I think we're gonna have 2 fights today. So scenes: Phelbis, then probably fight the dissector, and get into the vaults, the nanoforge, and get the cure for Kimley. I think that one of the things I'm going to do, so they're find the verdicts, find the Tacron's vertices. Find Tacron's Vertis, right? But I don't think they can use the Vertis to get back to Bodrov, because I think a secret is that the nanotech of the Fourth Empire is too complicated to transfer through the Vertis, through the datasphere, to datacast through the datasphere. It gets destroyed. Thus, nanites must be carried by hand in the reel. Right. So when they have their these nanite canisters that have stuff that can fix them, they can't transfer that. They're going to have to move them manually. I think that might be a little kind of difficult for them. It might make things harder in the future. So I don't know, but I don't think that hurts. And it kind of makes sense to me that like, if you could take these, there's just a question of like, if you can transfer you and your stuff in and out of the data sphere, like, why can't you duplicate it, right? Like, why can't you create it from that? The buffer problem from Star Trek, right? Oh, it's in the buffer. So I don't know. I think we're gonna say that the nanites are too delicate to go through the data sphere. So find Tacron's verdicts, go learn. So I think I'm gonna have an NPC approach them and talk about the fact that things are going really bad in the village of the Scarlet Watch, right? And I think I'm gonna have an NPC who approaches the characters and says, "Please, you have to help me, Demi, right? We're gonna have Demi of Scarlet Watch. Please, you have to come help our village, right?" And I think that that's probably where the session is going to end, is them making their way to Scarlet Watch to do our Seven Samurai style adventure. What other, so Vault of Tacron is our location. That's easy. Do I have Scarlet Watch as I do. The Scarlet Watch village of the first one. I did make this. So that's cool, right? It's a village surrounded by a towering thing. Now, the other part of I'm probably overthinking. I'm probably going too far out. But I want to think about where the Oraglian. So the idea is that there's these creatures. They are in Destiny, I think, or they're in Discovery. The Orgolian soldiers. Here, these guys, right? So Orgolian soldiers are the foot soldiers. So we can make this a secret, right? Of the Fourth Emperor. They carry out its will with force. So a bunch of Orgolian soldiers, right? A bunch of Orgolian soldiers have gone to the village of Scarlet Watch, the Orgolians, and their leader tells the people of Scarlet Watch to prepare. Those with connections to nanos may become walkers of beyond. The rest will serve the Empire as labor or food. The Orgolians are coming in 3 days. 4 days. There's actually a bunch of different kinds of Orgolians. So I think there's Orgolian testers too. I don't know what book that's in, but I'll find the Orgolians, and we can put Orgolian soldiers. I think I put them. I already have like a little bestiary 246. I think I have a bestiary. I kind of made a list somewhere in my campaign notebook here. I have, the Fourth Emperor bestiary, right? And you can click this, I can click this, and I can see descriptions. And I have a bunch of different Orgolians in here, I think. Orgolian soldiers, Orgolian envoys, Orgolian testers, right? So I have 3 different kinds of Orgolians. So that's pretty cool. So I think another secret is that, what was the location? Oh, what was the location I was going to have I had a cool name for it. The Tomb of the Sixth Archivist. So the secret is the Vow, also known as the Sixth Archivist, resides in the Tomb of the Sixth Archivist and has the last remaining piece of the hex. So, what else? Other secrets and clues. Oh, the only way the growth of the Fourth Empire is exponential. There's no good way to stop it with linear responses. Instead, the only way to defeat it is to what? Is with an exponential response. There's only one place that the characters can commit this level of response, the datasphere. So what does that mean? That's complicated and weird, right? And what that means is that, like, you know, the Fourth Empire is growing exponentially. You can't just go defeat stuff. Instead, you have to find a way to get a lever that's as big as the growth is happening. And the only way that a sentient being can do that is inside the datasphere. So whatever the answer is to this problem, it probably exists inside the datasphere. It's not a matter of stopping a single skybreaker, but defeating all skybreakers. It isn't a matter of defeating a single herald. You must defeat all heralds. The only way to do that is in the datasphere. What else? So let's step away for a moment. Like, we've got a strong start. We've got scenes. The lucky thing is that this is all taking place in an area that I've already filled out. So I've got that. NPCs we need. I think that our friends Navro and Burm are going to come back. And they might be with Demi. They might say, we met Demi. Demi was nearly killed by some random thing on the road. We managed to save him, but they are in a bad state and they need your help. I.e., you need to help return to... Look at all this treasure. I'm going to grab all these and we're going to move those right into my treasure segment here. Save myself a little time. I think they got one of these already. I don't remember which one they got, but one of these things they picked up. Was it the tendril? No, I don't remember which ones they got. So I've got all that, but what I want to think about is how is, you know, I'm getting to the point now. Hey, look, I have a campaign outline. So let's look at what we had in our campaign outline and then say, what are we actually doing with it? So I had this whole thing of the Justicar of Angul who came in. These were my villains that I was running, right? Zerson, the Bishop of Truth, Terra, the Justicar of Angul. I don't know that I'm going to run. I've never really implemented these two villains, Terra and Zerson. So I don't think I'm going to bring them in necessarily. I think I might end up with new villains. This is one of the advantages of, like, not hanging onto your villains too much. You can throw them away if you don't want them, right? Then I had this campaign outline. Travel to the canister datasphere. They did that. Travel to the acidic pools. Discover the lost temple of the Fourth Emperor. Yep. Disable the no-night generators of the factory. They did. Turn off the no-night distribution vents. Enter the datasphere of the Herald. Travel to the outside and learn the origin of the Fourth Emperor. Travel to the datasphere temple of the Fourth Emperor. Find the vault of the Sage. Speak to the last ancestor of the Fourth Age. Sure, I don't think that I'm going to keep this. Like, we're going to call this old. But I think now that I'm in it, I had this idea of the 4 Heralds, 4 Temples, 4 Skybreakers, the Throne of the Father. I think I'm going to get rid of that because that wasn't really. And new campaign outline, right? And I think, we're going to have the Vault of Tacron. We're going to have Scarlet Watch. We're going to have Return to Bodrov. Save Kimley. Travel. And then I have some parallel paths that could be. Travel to Skybreaker 4. Shut down the Skybreakers. Defeat the first Herald. Shut down the Heralds. Travel to the Throne of the Father. Close the gate to the outside. So this feels like, the one possible campaign outline, right? The idea here is that you can't, in order to shut down the Skybreaker, you shouldn't have to go to every single Skybreaker. Instead, you can go into the you can go to the Skybreaker, figure out how it works, go into the Virtus and hack the Virtus of the Skybreakers, which are networked together, and break them from the inside, right? Another one is the vault. I just talked about it, right? Which is what's it called? The Tomb of the Six Archivists, right? And that can give them a fail-safe of some sort. So that is is that too much? Like maybe do they need, that's like how many big locations, right? So that like, if we break this down, locations, we have the remainder of the Vault of Tacron. We have Scarlet Watch. We have the Tomb of the Six Archivist. We have Skybreaker 4. We have the First Herald. And we have the Throne of the Father. So that's 7. I mean, that could practically be 14 sessions worth of stuff, right? If it takes 2 sessions for each of these places, which is not out of hand, that could be 14 more sessions. Is that too many, right? That's 3 months, right? Of more than 3 months of games. If I had to narrow it down, where would I narrow it down? I could kill Scarlet Watch. It would make me sad. Right, but I could kill Scarlet Watch. I could kill the Tomb of the Six Archivist, and they could go straight to these 3, right? And that would be 6 sessions. It's actually not 14 sessions because I only have one more Vault of Tacron. So it's today and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. All right, 5 remaining, 10 more sessions. Is that and maybe some of these I can try, like Tomb of the Six Archivist could be 1 session instead of trying to make it 2 sessions. I kind of want to run those. How to get 14 sessions? It's about 10 sessions left. About 11 sessions left. That, is that too much? I don't know. And maybe it could be a little bit shorter than that. Because we could have some of these, I could just shorten, I could make them smaller places with less going on, and then they take 1 session instead of 2. So I think we could get there. So that seems like a reasonable campaign outline, right? And this is sort of what the steps they have to do, and then this is like the actual locations that they have. But I'll talk to the players and I'll see how they feel about going like another, 10, 12 sessions before the end of this campaign and see how they feel about that. Because then the question is, what do we run next? And I want to run either Empire of the Ghouls or I want to run Scarlet Citadel. I have both sitting on my shelf. I'd like to run one of those 2 adventures on the assumption that there isn't another hardcover adventure that comes out in that time that I want to run all the way through. Like I don't plan, I think it will be fun to run, and I might run, I don't think I'm going to run a campaign from, what's it called? The new book that's coming out. Somebody remind me. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, I think I'd like to run one of those Kobold Press adventures. I think those would be fun to run. And I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to 5e. I love Numenera. This is my first chance to run a real Numenera campaign. I'm enjoying it thoroughly, but I think I'm also due. Not called the Netherdeep. The other one that just got announced. Journey into the Radiant Citadel. I think I'll probably run those, but I'll probably run them as one-shots, right? I don't think I'm going to run a campaign from them. We'll see. I mean, probably not. I will see. Who could say? But I had Empire of the Ghouls and Scarlet Citadel sitting on my shelf for some time, and I've been wanting to run those. So. And I'd like to run some non-WotC adventures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 secrets. Are there any secrets that help tie this campaign together when I look at my campaign outline? I don't know. We never looked at the characters. Are there character secrets? Oh yeah, the characters. The players were interested in they wanted to find out more about Samji's life. And they knew that there is a bunch of Samjis in a place known as the Jade Colossus. But what a side quest that would be, right? I almost wish I hadn't brought it up. But finding and activating a bunch of Samjis might be an interesting way to deal with the Araglians. So that might be fun. Baiko, the intuitive Jack who rides the lightning. Cecilia, the graceful Jack who wields power with precision. Jad, the shade, meddlesome Jack who exists partly out of phase. I could ask, what does that mean? As he goes partially out of phase, what does he see? Does he see things from time to time? Nakia, benefit Jack who acts without consequence. And Samji, the protective glaive who fuses flesh and... I don't know. Anything more about the Vow? The Vow, known as the Sixth Archivist, resides in the Tomb of the Sixth Archivist and has the last remaining piece of the Hex. We have a bunch of stuff about the Hex. Is there anything else that they can learn? Let's focus back down on the fact that they're in the Vault of Tacron. What else could they learn in the Vault of Tacron? that could teach them about stuff, anything in particular. The Fourth Empire sees life as either sentience or non-sentience. It seeks to control sentience, which is much more complicated than dealing with non-sentience. It's not a great secret. It's kind of interesting. Let's take a look at the vault itself. Got a cool picture. Got a cool map. They're down in this lower right-hand chamber with the bodies of Tacron. I think Tacron's Virtus is in one of the, I think these two upper right chambers. One of those is the Nano Forge. The other one is his Virtus. And that way they can return here later if they need to. They can zip in. They can also use this Virtus. They can connect Tacron to the Virtus here. He's probably already connected to the Virtus here. I think Tacron's going to give them a small skull version of him. So they have they're carrying around a metal skull that is connected to larger Tacron, the skull of Tacron. And it's got a data port so they can connect the skull of Tacron to various data spheres. I think that will work. Another secret is that the heralds have floated in deep orbit around the Earth for millions of years. Tacron has its own satellite that it can use to connect to the skull. I think that's pretty cool. So how do I feel about today's game? Do I feel pretty good? I think I feel okay. I've got my strong starts. I've got some good scenes. I got a bunch of secrets. I got locations. I'm starting to get my head around where this thing is going to go and where it's going to end. I'm going to talk to the players today a little bit more about that. And I think I am ready. I think I'm ready to run a game. Do I feel good about it? I feel pretty good about it. So I think we're going to call today's show done. So I would like to thank everybody for hanging out with me today while I poked around with my Numenera campaign. Really fun and interesting to think about, but I definitely want to get to a light at the end of this tunnel. And I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay with that. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me today. Always a great. If you enjoyed this show, you can help me out by subscribing to the Sly Flourish newsletter, supporting me directly on Patreon, subscribing to my videos here on YouTube, or picking up any of my books. Links for all of those things are in the show notes below. Thank you all. Have a great day, and get out there and play an RPG. Take care, everybody.